Some people have wondered how women went from Betty Crocker to modern women. In this video, Mr. Kevin Samuels explains what happened and when. I agree with what he says. However, when this happened, feminism took it too far. The reason why they took it too far was because it became about making money and not about helping women. The leaders of the feminist movement at this time purposely and intentionally lied to women. In my next video, I will show a writer from the magazine called Cosmopolitan. She explains what they did and why they did it. Back in the 1970s, 1980s and 1990s, magazines like Cosmopolitan and Good Housekeeping were gospel to women. These types of magazines are owned and operated by women. Women who are rich. Thus, they had the resources to do the research and the studies. Plus, women believe that women would never lie to women only to make money. Yet they say that this is what men do. Therefore, women worldwide, Hollywood movies, television news and talk shows were all quoting what the articles said in these magazines as the truth. But it was all nothing but lies. They are laughing all the way to the bank.
And I did see an article, and this was in Good Housekeeping, on how some woman who was in pornographic films, how it had brought her closer to her mother.
To her mother.
And I'm like, Good Housekeeping.
This area you are seeing is called the Chicago River Walk. I also made a video on the Chicago River Walk that is about 45 minutes long. The following are some reasons why women in the United States no longer need a man. Here in the United States, we have what is called food stamps. Food stamps is a government program that provides money to people who are poor to buy food. Back in the 1970s, 1980s and 1990s, food stamps provided enough money to where a family could buy food for a month. Now, people only get enough money to buy food for about 2 weeks. Plus, we also have what is called Section 8 housing. Section 8 housing provides housing for people who are poor. However, because of government cuts, there is now a 10-year waiting list. Also, because of government cuts, more and more women with children are being evicted and put on the streets. The highest rate of women being evicted and put on the streets are black women with children. The feminist movement did not consider that many social programs would be cut, which would put women in a worse or bad position or situation in the future. Yes, today, many women talk a good game, but not enough of them kept up the fight. Not enough of them attempted to ensure that they would not lose what they have achieved. Plus, in the 1970s, 1980s and 1990s the poor got free health care, which is called Medicaid. In the 2000s, the conservatives in government kind of killed this program. But President Obama, with the help of the liberals in government, was able to get it back. The point is that the feminist movement did a lot of good things. Women no longer need men to provide or protect. However, feminists always forget that men made the world so safe that women no longer need a man for anything. Now the world is so safe that women can travel to other countries alone. The feminist movement has given women a lot more options and freedom. Women no longer have to consider how much money a man earns. Women can earn more money and still have a family. Plus, because of social programs such as food stamps and Section 8 housing, even poor women no longer need a man for anything. However, one of the major issues is that no one taught women how to be in relationships or in a marriage in a world like this. The country that has the best social programs for women is Iceland. In Iceland, many women no longer want to get married. Instead, they change men every 5 years and have babies with each man. Now so many people in Iceland are related to each other that Iceland had to create a computer app that lets you know if the person you want to date, or start a relationship with, is your brother, sister, aunt, uncle, or cousin. People in Iceland must check this computer app before they do something they regret. Women in the United States still look for men with money and status. Yet, when they get a man with money and status, they divorce the man because they figure out that they do not love the man. They only love the lifestyle. At the end of the day, when you close the door, it is just you and him. The person who you have to live with on a day-to-day basis. In the past, the man made the money, but the man never held it over the woman's head that he made the money. If his wife needed something, she could get the money when she wanted or needed it. Most women do not know how to handle or deal with a situation where she is out earning her man. Women still want to be treated like princesses. However, because of feminism, there are no longer any princesses. No longer any queens. No longer any kings. There is only us. A few more things before we get into the video clip. In the late 1990s, the conservatives in government were finally able to cut out many of our rights. Now, Food stamps only last for about 2 weeks, and Section 8 housing has a 10-year waiting list. However, women can still offset this with child support payments from the man. So even with government cuts, women can still have the benefits of a marriage, but without the man. Back in the 1980s and 1990s, we had family leave. This meant that if you had a baby, both the father and the mother could take 4 weeks off from work to care for the baby. I got a lot of temporary jobs because of this law. This law is now gone, but the liberals have been attempting to get it back. Plus, back in the 1970s and 1980s, you got paid for your 10 to 15-minute breaks. Plus, you got time and a half if you worked more than 8 hours in a day or more than 40 hours in a week. This meant that if you were making $10 per hour, it increased to $15 per hour. Plus, if you worked the holidays, then you got double time. Thus, the $10 per hour increased to $20 per hour. Plus, in the 1960s, 1970s and 1980s the minimum wage was a living wage. You got paid enough to pay rent, food and buy a good used car. In college, with a roommate, I got paid enough from my part-time job to pay rent, food and buy a good used car. The conservatives and the government took these things away, and the liberals have been attempting to get it all back. Now, Mr. Kevin Samuels was wrong about one thing. This is probably because he was not old enough to retire. He always said that many women will not have enough money in retirement to pay rent, food, and other stuff when they reach retirement age. I am not old enough to receive retirement benefits, but I am receiving disability benefits. My disability benefits are equal to what I would receive for retirement benefits. Since I can no longer work, this is the amount of income I will be getting until I die. Because it is not that much money, I had to look into where I can live, which is the main reason why I am moving overseas. However, there is low-income housing in the United States for retirement people and people with disabilities. If you live in one of these places, and after you pay for rent, food and all that stuff, you might have a little extra each month for a good used car. But most will have to take public transportation. Thus, you will not be out on the streets. However, all you will be able to do is sit in your apartment, watch television and wait to die. I decided that if this is my future, then I might as well do it on a beach. Back in the 1990s, my family put one of my grandmothers in one of these retirement homes. However, if she needed anything, all she had to do was call me or my brothers, and we would take her places or get it for her. The healthcare law President Obama enacted provides low-income retirees with transportation. Here in Chicago, all they have to do is call Uber, Lyft, Grab or something similar. My aunt is in her 70s, and many women in this neighborhood are single women in their 70s. And they all help each other. Plus, before I got sick with cancer, I was the main person in the neighborhood that helped many of these women. The ones that had no family close by. Plus, the new healthcare law pays for a personal in-home care assistant. So because of President Obama, many of these women will be okay.
Yeah, where did that shift happen? When did it happen?
Roughly around the late 60s, early 70s, with feminism, third wave feminism. Because they took the civil rights movement that was impacting the black community, black men and women, raising, and then here come the feminist movement to saying to black women, hey, come join us to get women's rights and equality. And we just came off our own equality fight, so our women went off saying, well, yeah, yeah, we need equality too. The difference is black men ain't have no power over black women to oppress you. You need equality with us. You already had equality. But then you get, you get feminism, the advent of abortion. So women have reproductive choice. You get better contraceptives. And then you start getting more women going to school into the workplace. So basically, black women were chose to take all these gains, education, reproductive choice and all this stuff, but it did not mean you had to separate from your men. It all happened to all groups of women. Then Title IX came along and women counted more, Title IX affirmative action, and it all culminated in the 80s and 90s when black women were given preferential treatment in hiring decisions and things like that. The baby boomers and Generation X kind of turned their backs on the familial traditions. And that's what we're kind of grappling with right now, whether they understood the long-term ramifications or whatever. But basically, women separated themselves from their men to the point to where I don't need you. No, you don't need me for food, protection, shelter, but you've traded in your physical man for the government institutions, the police, fire, security. That's your man now.
Employment.
Who gives you a job? Get your money from the job. So what do you need a man for now? Sex, and if you decide you want to reproduce, a baby. But then after that, what we cannot do is act like that we don't have a problem. In the 60s, the single birth rate was around 25%. There was a national cry for emergency. Not 8 out of 10 kids are born out of wedlock. Black women are married at a 1 in 4 rate, and it's only declining. It don't matter about the education or whatever. At the end of the day, black men earn more than black women, and you can have a PhD education, but the numbers tell the story. And the bottom line is, if 75% of our women are earning less than $50,000, and you're not getting married, so you don't have two families, a nuclear family and extended family, no Western civilization is set up to care for individual aged people. So what's going to happen? We're about to start seeing we're about to start seeing a lot of single spinsters, and there is no. It's not going to look pretty, because you know what happens to men who can't afford to take care of themselves? They don't get to go to the government and petition for more benefits. They end up on the street, and that's what you're starting to see. The largest group of first-time homeless is women, and women with children, because they're unattached to a man.